picture yourself leaving yourself and being a witness, sitting over up on your shoulder behind yourself, and then view yourself from that perspective. And then I would say, start to just imagine like all of this space around you. So there's walls, there's furniture, wherever you're sitting, there's all those physical things. But imagine the space between you and those physical things, because it's not empty like we think it is. Energy is there.
Welcome to All Things Menopausal. My name is Mary, and I'm a menopause doula. As a doula, we augment the healthcare profession as menopause support practitioners. I created this podcast, All Things Menopausal, to build community for women going through menopause transition and to foster resilience through the stories that connect, educate, and empower. These stories are real, raw, relatable, and they're very much relevant to the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual whole person that we are. In our midlife transition, we are not alone. Each week, you will hear from courageous, vulnerable, and knowledgeable guests, sharing their passion, their journey, and lived experience. These are little clues to finding solutions to our unique situation. The menopause symptoms are personal, but the experience is universal.
Welcome back, my listeners. I'm so glad you're here because today we're going to explore the transformative journey with Paula Schuster, who is a sound bath master, and she's going to dive into the healing properties of sound bath therapy and the intersection of energy work with personal well-being. We will also discover how Paula's experiences with Reiki and sound therapy emphasize self-healing, intention setting, and the influence of generational memories on individual health. We will also uncover profound connections between science, spirituality, and personal authenticity in the realm of holistic healing. But this episode is a little different. You are going to hear from an additional special guest who I invited on for a very important reason. And if you stick around, you will learn why. But let me tell you this, having her presence in this show elevated the conversation with Paula to a whole new level. We went in a direction that no one could predict, and yet that is exactly what was supposed to happen. Magic happens when we are not forcing an outcome or scripting the perfect dialogue. You cannot orchestrate these things. But by tapping into each other's vibration and surrendering to the surrounding energy of the sounds of our words and the intentions of our heart, well, that, my friends, is exactly what this episode is all about. Have I piqued your interest yet? Before we get started, here's a few things you should know about Paula. Paula is a Reiki coach and a sound bath healer, and she has a deep desire to lead, mentor, guide, teach, and hold space for individuals. Paula feels most alive when connecting with others, and you're going to find out why. Facilitating healing and coaching clients to love themselves and find inner peace. She's on a mission to help others break free from external expectations and follow their hearts, and she believes in the transformative power of self-care and authenticity. Paula's business, Reiki Flow, began as a quest to escape corporate life and pursue a much more purposeful path on healing and authentic connection. Wow, does that ever resonate with me? Through offerings such as Reiki healing, coaching, sound healing, and podcasting, she continues to grow and find fulfillment in her work, striving to create a life she eagerly wakes up to each day, inviting others to do the same. I love that. Paula is the host of the recently launched podcast called Scared as Fuck and Doing It Anyway. Since launching, she has been featured on a half a dozen other podcast platforms, and now here she is on mine. So tune in, listen to her story and what she has to share in the realm of sound and energy healing, and you will understand why she's been featured on other shows. Hi, Paula. It is so great to connect with you. We've had many talks before, and you interviewed me for your podcast. Now you're on my show, and I'm so grateful. It is so delightful to bring you here to teach us something about an alternative form of therapy which as a doula, I want to promote because it's not all about pill popping. Yes, diet. Yes, exercise. Yes, sleep management. But then that healing part that happens when we learn how to tap in and reduce our stress is so significant and enforces all the other three pillars that I mentioned. Welcome, Paula, sound bath master and the host as Scared as
Thank you.
Doing it anyway, podcast host. Lovely.
Thank you so much, Mary. I'm so happy to be here. Glad to be with you and in your presence again.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't have a YouTube podcast channel yet, but if our listeners can see us right now, we're wearing our unicorn helmets using the little filter because today I just felt that we need to spread some magic and be a little lighthearted and have some fun, which I know that you've spoken about on your podcast several times too.
Yeah.
So
I'm loving it.
Paula, okay, first of all, I want to learn about sound bath. I'm hearing it more and more. People in studios that I like to go to are teaching it, offering courses in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
How does one become involved in sound bath therapy? And what eventually led you to become a practitioner?
Sound is such a wonderful thing. What I say is sound is medicine, and it is. And they're starting to prove that scientifically, that there's certain frequencies and beats and things like that are healing to our nervous systems and our energetic fields. Everything is energy, right? And so sound is too. And in terms of like how you get involved, if you haven't ever been to a sound bath, I would say sign up for one in your local area and go to one. On my podcast, I do have a short little sound bath that I did and I posted on there. It's like a 20-minute one. When I do them here locally in person, we do 90-minute sound baths, and I usually work with another person who's a Reiki practitioner or master. And so we do Reiki sound baths, and Reiki coupled with sound is even more powerful and more healing. And I would say if you're looking for a sound bath in your area, there are many sound healers who just have the crystal singing bowls. And I would say look for one that where the practitioner or the healer has a wider array of instruments, because then it's just it's a different kind of a journey. It's a more fulfilling experience in my view. So I have lots of instruments, and my newest addition is a planetary gong that is attuned to the frequency of the earth, and I am in love with her. I haven't named her yet, but I can't wait to name her. I'm still mulling over names. So just a couple of days ago, people were like, that was next level. It was intense at times. And then they're feeling like I reached out to someone today who had a pretty intense experience with the gong. And he is just feeling like, he said, it opened my mind. It opened my heart. I feel new. And sound is medicine. And it's a very healing experience. Most people walk away from a sound bath feeling very grounded and centered, rejuvenated. And then in terms of like how I got involved in it, I was already a Reiki master teacher and had been so the place where I got trained in Reiki and where I earned my life coaching certification, they also do sound healing. The teachers there who teach the sound healing class have been doing sound medicine for 35 or 40 years. And so I knew I wanted to learn from them. And I guess my interest just came from experiencing it the first time myself. So I went to this retreat to get trained in Reiki. I was given a sound bath in that retreat, and it was a very healing, magical experience. And I walked away going, one day I think I might want to do that. And then a few years later, I did go back and take the training. And I went to the thinking, this is just going to be another tool in my tool belt, because I'm a Reiki teacher and practitioner, and I'm a life coach and a podcaster. And I thought, oh, this sound will just be another tool in my tool belt. And I went to this training, and it was everything I didn't know I needed at the time. And so it was a very healing experience in just the training itself.
And to be able to walk that journey and discover something about ourselves and say, this has been so healing for myself. I want to be able to then use what I learned to help heal other people.
And that is where it's at for me, especially with the sound right now for me. But also obviously with Reiki.
So what are some of the misconceptions that when you hear sound bath, and in essence, it is conjured up. But first of all, explain to us why they call it a bath for those listeners who are not familiar with this And then what are some of the misconceptions that are often associated with this?
So it's called a sound bath because you lay on a yoga mat and you basically are just bathed in the sounds by the practitioner, whoever is hosting or facilitating the sound bath. Some people call them sound journeys, sound immersions. And so I'm not even sure like how the word bath came up, but I know it's just related to being bathed in the beautiful sounds and frequencies and vibrations that are happening all around you when you're at one. Misconceptions, that's a really good question, Mary, because I don't even know if I've heard misconceptions about sound healing or sound baths. Other than I get questions, and some people, they are a little confused. Sometimes they're taking the word bath literally, and so they're wondering if clothes are on and things like that. Yes, you're laying on a yoga mat fully clothed.
Right there.
Yeah.
A practitioner showing up completely in the nude.
I guess sometimes people wonder if the volume of the sounds, like especially with a gong, if you're getting really loud with the gong, then some people are worried that it might hurt their hearing. And it's scientifically proven that gongs, no matter how loud they are, do not harm your hearing at all. So that might be a misconception. But gongs aren't always loud. I can play really soft. I always start soft and build into a louder sound, but then I don't, unless I'm advertising it as a gong blast, I'm not going to like blast people. You know what I mean?
So for those who are interested in trying for the first time a sound bath therapy, how can they better prepare for it? Or is it just a matter of just, okay, let's come and give it a try and being open-minded to it? So is there some kind of free advice you give to them to prepare them for this? Or do they just enter the room with an open heart and just let happen?
It's really the latter, is coming with an open heart and just being open to it. Depending on who is holding the sound bath, they're going to have a theme and a very intentional journey that they're bringing the participants on. At least that's how I plan my sound baths. So there's always a theme, and we always have people set intentions at the beginning as they're laying down so that it is purposeful and intentional. And if that's not happening, if the facilitator isn't calling that out or doing that, then I would say do that for yourself. Going into a sound bath is set an intention and make sure that your intentions are stated in the present or like they've already happened so that it's not a chasing after it. And then set an intention around anything that anything might be going on in your life that, like, especially things that you want to release and birth the new or be renewed about, because sound healing is a really good release of all things that aren't serving us. And if you have an intention behind that, it's really powerful.
So perfect that you should say that. I wanted to bring it back to the menopause experience. The idea of birthing and setting anew is so apropos when we go through the transition and are birthing our new selves, if you will, and saying goodbye or mourning our 20-year-old self and then putting her away on the shelf, with all due respect, entering into the age of wisdom now, and this journey that you allow them to take them through, this birthing that the sound bath journey can allow them to experience. Where I want to tap in a little bit more onto the science of the body, and in particular, how sound itself, frequency, vibration, scientifically is showing that it's an opportunity for us to release something that we're holding on to, whether it's a physical ailment or an emotional stuck belief, which we now know the two are very connected. When we have something stuck emotionally, it manifests as a physical ailment in the body. Tell us a little bit about the science of the vibration now and what it does to, let's say, cut through those barriers or break down those walls.
Wow, you're really healing. So I'd have to probably look at my manual and refresh to get really detailed. But what I can tell you is that when you're in a sound bath, your body and your nervous system is in training with the sound or the frequencies and the vibrations. And so what that entrainment is, like the best example of entrainment that I can think of is if you have two guitars, either next to each other or in the same room, and you pluck the C string of a guitar, then the C string on the other guitar will automatically vibrate. And so that's an example of entrainment, right? And so that's what's happening with our energetic fields, our nervous systems, our bodies when we're in a sound bath. It's how we're connecting it. It's how we're healing our bodies. There are specific instruments to heal certain things. Like there is a certain way to play the gong, for example, to heal more physical ailments. And there is a certain way to play the gong to heal more emotional and mental ailments. And so I always look at my manual when I'm planning out the sound bath and say, all right, what's our theme? What are we doing? This is how I want to play the gong. The crystal singing bowls you can purchase sets that are all attuned to the chakras. Each of them is attuned to one of the chakras. And so there's a way also to play the bowls to have a more involved experience versus a more grounding experience. If you really want people to be more relaxed and grounding, then you're playing the crystal bowls counterclockwise instead of clockwise. So there's these things like this that are really cool to learn and do and change up in a sound bath, depending again on the journey that you want to take people on. So in the beginning, it's usually a release of some sort. And so we're coming in and we're bringing them up and then down, right? And so I play the bowls differently. And then at the end, it's more of a grounding thing. Yeah. So I hope that sort of answers your question. It wasn't too technical.
100%. Absolutely 100%. As soon as you said the nervous system entrainment, you got me. Wow. I've heard this before, and past podcast guests who have spoken about this when it comes to choir and our voice and singing and just that vibration that we can create just in the chanting or opening up the vocal cords. And I've heard this before, and you are most welcome to elaborate on it. So of course, if you're singing alto or soprano or tenor, you're going to be tuning in at each of that vibrational level of that note. Our nervous system is tuning in with the sound that's vibrating off the bowl, which makes complete sense. Thank you for giving us the guitar analogy. It totally makes sense.
Yes.
And what I liked most about too is that when you mention the infinity symbol, what's going out is coming back and receiving and doing, coming back and going out and coming back. And that's such a beautiful way of visualizing this flow. And we say it often in yoga when we just say forward fold, straddle forward fold, grabbing onto opposite elbows, and then just let your head or your torso sway in that, in like you're making a figure eight.
Yes.
And it just feels so that comforting flow, that vibration that we're inviting into our bodies. So I appreciate the analogy. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And then the chakras, of course, which I speak to quite often and I find absolutely intriguing. Just for today's episode, I actually, and the listeners can't see this, but I did wear my t-shirt that says chakra aligned A.
I love it.
I want to divert a little bit away from the sound bath and talk about something that is also very near and dear to you and is such a great platform for women, for anybody, all listeners to tap into, to allow themselves to really lean into that authenticity and invite them to be themselves and have fun. Tell us all about your podcast. First of all, the name and what made you choose it.
Okay. So the name of my podcast, you mentioned before, it's called Scared as Fuck and Doing It Anyway. And then the tagline is Showing Up Authentically. But when you're looking for it, you can just search for the Scared as Fuck and Doing It Anyway. And that name was born out of me being scared as fuck to show up in this way, to put my voice over the airwaves and to do it. We met Mary in our podcasting program. And that was an 8-week program. And I did not move forward one bit for 4 or 5 weeks out of that program because I was sitting there in my fear, right? I knew I wanted my podcast to be about authenticity and self-love, but more so authenticity, because that's been my most recent journey and how it's just changed. My whole life has just changed so much in the last few years. And so I knew I wanted it to be about that. And I had picked out a name and it wasn't really resonating with me. I think the name was like Paving Your Own Way, The Road to Authenticity or something like that. And it just didn't feel right. I'm a Leo, I'm fiery. And so it was just feeling boring to me. I was looking for something with more pizzazz. And so I was sitting here at my desk one day, bawling my eyes out. And my wife comes around the corner and she says, "What's wrong, honey? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I'm just so fucking scared." And so that's how the podcast name was born. Yeah.
I love it. That is so perfect. And it catches on. First of all, the title says, all right, like gloves are off, but reality check. Who is not afraid of something in life? And just like we're on an equal playing field right here. We're all scared as fuck.
I'm
and you
so
call
glad.
it out for what it is, and you're not holding back. And you've had some really, congratulations, by the way, Paula, for taking that big move and that big dive, because I've listened to a couple of them, and I have seen the lineup of guests that you were bringing onto your show, as well as your solo episodes too. There's great conversation unfolding on that podcast platform.
Thank you so much.
And so for my listeners who are going through their own journey, and menopause is just part of that journey of unearthing so much about finding our true authentic self. Mm-hmm. This is the conversations that we need to have in the space, to hold in the space, to create community, to lean into each other. And you are certainly inviting a whole community to do just that. Well done.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
As we sit here looking all beautiful with our little unicorn phones on our heads, because we just want to be silly today, I wanted to do something special and different. And for my listeners who may have listened to one of my solo episodes a few weeks back, when I spoke from the heart after the passing of my birth mother, my dear birth mother, and just that heaviness that I needed to unleash in that solo episode. And today I have invited a very near and dear person in my life and I wanted her to be a part of today's podcast because, first of all, let's welcome my sister, Nicole. We share our birth mother, so we're both going through our journey of grieving and mourning together. I wanted to invite Nicole onto the show because, Paula, she listened to your trailer of your podcast, and she started vibrating at your frequency.
Thanks,
so
Nicole.
Welcome, Nicole. You can certainly unmute yourself. There we go. And I wanted Nicole to be on the show to ask some questions too, because as a doula, I won't have all the answers. I put people in touch with the experts in the field, but also I don't have all the questions either. And so Nicole is here to share some of the questions that she is probably experiencing that represents so many other women are experiencing, and how some of the healing that you offer, or just the authenticity that you invite women to have, can be shared on this platform. So Nicole, take it away. Welcome to the show, my dear sister, all the way from my kitchen upstairs, but she lives in Port St. John,
welcome,
British Columbia.
Hi, thank you for having me. And yes, very nice to meet you, Paula. When Mary played your thing this morning, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to have that lady in my life.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. It's so nice to meet you and virtually.
Yeah, it was, it's just, for me, I feel like I'm a country bumpkin and I don't allow myself to get into everything. And then now that I've allowed things to come into my life and to feel my feelings and to do things, I know that there's a whole other world out there that is open for me. And when you talk about music, I love music. I find when I go in the car by myself, just even loud, sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's loud, sometimes it just could be things like a nature walk too, that just totally makes me feel at peace. Yeah, so I totally understand the music, and the bath, the sound bath sounds like amazing. Like I can actually visualize myself being in that. Yeah. My visual is in a field in a bathtub right now with a bunch of people playing music.
I can't wait to do them outside. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
So thank you, Nicole. Yeah. It's for anybody who's never understood or heard or experienced what it is about, it certainly conjures up all kinds of images of this relaxing, beautiful setting. And that opens up the question now, how does someone, if they're not living in a community where this is offered, can they still get the benefits from doing this from a virtual setting?
Yes, it's a completely different experience when you're doing it in person, but you can still get the benefits because energy travels, right? And so like I can do distance Reiki sessions, for example. And if you're listening to something, right? When we listen to music, we're still getting the frequencies and the vibrations and the upliftment from it. And you could listen to them online, different kinds of sound healings. I mentioned there's one, I did an episode where it's a 20-minute sound bath and I played a number of different instruments. And I started with it was like for a Valentine's Day and it was like for self-love. And I believe that you can receive the benefits because energy travels, energy's everywhere.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Definitely. I love that. And yeah, we can still receive that. Yeah, this gets me all excited. The energy and chakras and how energy continues to vibrate beyond the barriers of time and space.
Yes.
And like in your experiences, in your knowledge and the journey that you walked, can you share with us a little bit more of an understanding of energy and why energy work is so significant overall inner healing? And when you mention self-love too, I like to think of self-love as like the ground zero. We think of self-love as the heart, but sometimes it's let's get to the foundation and do the groundwork first.
Yeah.
To open up that energy and acceptance. I'm going to invite you to elaborate on that, Paula.
Okay. We are energy, right? Everything in our world is atomic. An atom is 99.99999% energy and 0.00001% particle. So everything is energy, but we put so much stake in the physical, in the particle, because it's what we see. It's what we see with our senses, right? But really, we're all energy. We really need energy healing, just like we need physical health and healing and mental health and healing. We also need energy healing. And the way that Reiki is energy work, it's energy healing. And the way that it works is it clears the energy lines and fields in your body and works in the meridians of your body to clear them out and cleanse them and restore them. And specifically about Reiki, Reiki is energy that it comes from the highest consciousness, from the divine. And a practitioner is just a channel. The practitioner isn't the one healing. We're a channel. And so it works with channeling and intention. We are channeling the Reiki energy with the intention of giving it to the receiver. And then the energy works with the intelligence and the intuition of your own body and your higher self.
Fantastic.
And so it just knows what you need at any given time. Obviously, if you're coming in with a physical ailment or something, we can put focus and intention toward that, both you as the client and me as the practitioner. And so that joint intention makes it even more powerful. But yeah, does that answer your question? Yeah.
In fact, it just leads to 1,000 more questions. First of all, has there been a time where you've had a client, whether in your one-on-one coaching or a group class, where somebody has had a transformation, a breakthrough?
When I've taught students and they go through the attunement process, they have major transformations and awakening kind of experiences. And then people who come in for just individual Reiki treatments, it ranges, it's such a unique experience, unique to the individual. And so some people walk away just feeling a deep peace from the inside out and just very relaxed. That's probably the most common thing people feel after a Reiki session. But that ranges to all the way, like I've had people go into past life experiences on my table before during a Reiki session. One story I can tell is there was a woman who was on my table, and I don't often receive like verbal messages, right? Reiki is a very intuitive practice. And so what I feel is I'm a clairsentient. And so I feel up the center of my body where people need more Reiki. When I have my hands on their body or in their aura, I can tell where to go by what's happening up the center of my body. My stomach, my heart, my chest area, and my throat. Sometimes I'll be grabbing at my throat and I don't even have a collared shirt on. But I was giving Reiki to this woman and this message was coming in really loud and clear, so much so that I had to say it out loud. And I said, "You belong here." And she told me after the session that she's never felt like she's belonged on earth because she was always, and she went into this whole experience in the session where she saw herself coming into this life and she was choosing her mother and she was choosing between two women. And she's always, and in the back of her mind, she could never articulate it, but she always wondered if she picked the right one. And after this session, she knew she had picked the right one. And it had taken her through that whole experience. And so that's more on the rare side, I would say, but that is like huge and magical and transformative. And so it ranges from that all the way to just someone feeling very deeply relaxed and peaceful. But you can feel your energetic field change after a Reiki session. Sometimes it's real physical feeling, because one thing that can happen or that you can experience during a Reiki session is physical sensations. And so you can feel the energy moving. Sometimes you're shaking a little bit. Sometimes you can't move your arm. It doesn't hurt, but you just can't move it. And it's because the energy is working with your body's own intuition and intelligence to heal in whatever way, that you need. And I had a hugely transformative experience when I was attuned to Reiki. I was attuned to all 3 levels in a 7-day period at a retreat. There are Reiki teachers out there, master teachers, who believe that you should have 6 months in between each attunement. And I did mine in 7 days at a retreat because my first teacher didn't believe that. And I had a huge, big bang awakening experience. My entire life changed in that 7 days. I came home from that retreat a completely different person. My wife was afraid because I had changed so much. She was afraid that I might leave her. My daughter, 2 days after I got home, got right up in my face and said, "Who are you? I don't even know who you are anymore." And I said, "We're finding out," because I didn't eat the same. I didn't care about the same things. I didn't talk the same. I didn't dress the same. I was a completely different person after my attunement or my 3 attunements. And during the first one, I remember receiving that energy and feeling myself come home to myself. It was and I saw this white light coming back into my heart. And it was just this magical, profound, so powerful experience. I could barely even talk. I had changed so much in 7 days that when we were sharing at the end of that retreat, I could barely talk. All I could do was cry and say, "I'm so grateful and thank you," because I didn't have the words yet. It had happened so fast. And yeah, so I had a very profound experience. I've had students that have had profound experiences after when I've taught them. And it's more so in that attunement process, which is the word that we use to describe how the energy is being placed within you to be a practitioner.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's such an incredible story. Ironically, when we started, and you mentioned it, we started off in our little podcast coaching group together. And I wrote down in it, this is my little booklet where I take notes for all my interviews.
Yeah.
On the first page, and it says 3 questions. What did you come here for? What do you need to know? And what do you need into your life? Your story is medicine.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I just feel like this is coming full circle now. It's yes, totally. I get it. I want to get on the airways and tell stories, but I want to tell other people's stories, because in those stories, there's healing. And beautiful. Thank you. You were the student, now the teacher, but will continue to be the student. Wow. I'm blown away. I had the goosebumps, and especially when you talked about the choosing the mother. Nicole, I don't know about you, if you got the goosebumps going on and probably resonated.
I did. I very much did.
So go ahead, ask Paula some more questions. I need to catch my breath and regroup.
I do have one question, Paula. If you were coming from somebody new, where would be your starting point to find your energy and to be able to, because I have aches and pains. And then the whole thing, when you talk about sound, I go get acupuncture done, and I go do things, and then they do the tapping to heal and whatever else. And so what is my starting point?
Yeah, that is such a great question, Nicole. If you're thinking about just your own practice, I would say get quiet, get still, and close down your eyes and take some deep breaths and imagine yourself. Are you a meditator? Can I ask? Do you meditate?
I'm not, but that is where having my sister who is into all of that stuff, I am soon learning. My life has just been so busy. I've not allowed anything in.
Yeah.
And now I'm at a point in my life where I've had lots of chaos and tragedy and everything else. And now I am. And just having this visit with my sister, I'm finding myself at a peaceful place and a lot of things happening. And so that's where I'm liking the feeling that I'm having. But how do I continue on? And where is the starting point to grow and allow the energy to be released and to bring in new energy?
That's so beautiful, Nicole. I'm so glad that you're feeling that way. You're feeling good and you want to continue. So yeah, to continue on with what I was saying, get yourself relaxed, close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, and then picture yourself leaving yourself and being a witness, sitting over up on your shoulder behind yourself, and then view yourself from that perspective. And then I would say, start to just imagine like all of this space around you. So there's walls, there's furniture, wherever you're sitting, there's all those physical things. But imagine the space between you and those physical things, because it's not empty like we think it is. Energy is there. And so start to feel that, start to think about that, feel that. That's one thing I would say. The other thing is, in order to feel your energy, if you rub your hands together really fast, and I know it's going to make a sound on my microphone, but if you do this for about a minute or so, or even 30 seconds, and then you pull your hands apart like this, you can feel the energy in between your hands. So that's one way to start to feel your own energy and get in tune with it. I would also encourage you to find a Reiki practitioner and go and have a Reiki session. Now, if it's something you want to experience in person, then I would say find a local one. Reiki can be done over distance because, again, energy travels and it's intention. And so it can be done online over Zoom. Like when I do my distance sessions, as long as I can see the person, then I'm good. But it is a different experience in person. And try that, because that you will feel things during a Reiki session. And I think that will help you feel that your energy and start to tune into it.
One of the things that I like to do in the morning, and I do this little chakra balancing series, and I sit in the quietness after I've done a meditation session. It could even be 5 minutes. But then I go through, okay, I got to align my root chakra, balance it, clear it. So I do a little movement. And it's really quite simple. It involves a breath, and it also involves moving of the torso and the arms, because you want to start lifting that energy. The very last thing that I do, though, is I rub the hands together briskly, place one at the crown of my head, my crown chakra, like I'm grounding into my divinity. And I will scan from my ajna right through to the vishuddha, the throat, down to the heart, the solar plexus. And I just do this body scan all through the other 6 chakras. And then I bring it up. And when I've had a really powerful session, I feel this magnetic pulsating feeling in the palm of my hand. And if I don't do it on a day that I know that I'm going to have a lot on the go, whether it's work or there's going to be some emotional upheaval, it shows, it reflects, because I'm stuck in the small self almost. I'm stuck in that old pattern, that old belief, and I slip into that behavior pattern. And it comes with practice. I'm sure you will attest to, Paula. You need to literally reach in and pull yourself out of it and become the observer.
Absolutely.
And not
observe. I love what you're saying, because how Mary, you said you rub your hands together and then you put it at your crown chakra. You could do that with each chakra. And that's another thing, Nicole, that you could do. Rub your hands together for several seconds and then put your hands on each chakra. And that is another way to feel your energy. And I know you will feel different after you go through all of your chakras and doing that. Like, you will feel more calm. You will feel more centered. I would love to hear your feedback after you try it. because I know you'll feel different.
Yeah. She'll
Yeah,
be
that
sitting
sounds
down
like
there
a practice, Mary.
with her boys. I can just see it with Bryce and Brock in the living room, and maybe even Bruce and the four of you just doing your little,
Yeah.
I see sound bath therapist in your future.
Yeah.
Oh, the energy, like it transcends time and space and material because I can feel today's energy. So for our listeners who might be catching this episode and they're driving, a warning to you, don't let go of the steering wheel to rub your palms together because that could just be hazardous to your health. Just have to put that one out there.
Yeah.
This has just been so incredible. I have so many questions more to ask out of this. You touched on some things that really start to resonate with me. Past life regression, bringing that up out of our energy. Could you just speak really quickly, though, it might not even be a quick answer, but what is it about, even down to the cellular level, that makes that lineage still within our cells, still within the atoms that make up the cells of our body, that's still vibrating, that has been from past lives or even generational?
Yeah, because we carry that. We hold on to that, things at the cellular level. All I know is that when a baby is in the womb of a mother, that the cells of the mother and the cells of the baby are exchanged. And so when the baby is actually born, the baby keeps some of the cells of the mother and the mother keeps some of the cells of the baby, which is why it's mom's intuition. Mom always knows, like you can feel when your kids something's going wrong with them or whatever. It's because you can, it's true. And when the mother is sick, the cells of the cells of the baby that are still within her body will rush to that point, wherever it is that is sick or has a physical ailment, to try to heal it, holding on to all of this generational trauma. And some of it's good, some of it's trauma, but that's how we end up holding on to it. Is right through the bloodline, literally.
Science is now showing this, proving this more and more. And of course, me being the researcher that I am, I will probably dive into that and start putting something out there for the listeners, for my readers of my blog, whomever, so we can start tapping in, because I just love like the science of it. But then I need to go into the spiritual, because that's when science meets spirituality. That's where the real work gets done, as far as I'm concerned. But I resonate with that, what you shared, Paul, and I appreciate that you shared that, because, and this is interesting, I've had a Reiki experience and also had one of those, the ones that read your iris of your eye.
Oh.
And I don't know what but they'll read your eye and be able to see where you have ailments and where you have blocks. And
interesting.
Both times, in two separate occasions with a couple of years apart, I won a foot massage, reflexology, and I did all 3 times a Reiki session and this eye reading. And all 3 times, by 3 different practitioners on 3 different occasions, had said to me, "Are you a smoker?" And I'm like, "No, I am so healthy. I'm a runner." At the time, I was big into marathon running, long distance. I said, "Are you freaking kidding me? Do you know me?" I said, "No." And they said, "There is scar tissue on your bronchial area. We can see it. This is your Achilles heel. There's something in your bronchial area that's not healed."
Wow.
And I said, my mother, my adopted mother, the family that I was raised with, she was a heavy smoker, almost at some period a chain smoker. And we now know that secondhand smoke is quite dangerous, almost more so dangerous to the health of those exposed to that environment. And so I had mentioned this to one of those practitioners, and she says, "No, there's something that's deeper than that is in your genetic body of your bronchial area that needs." And oftentimes when I feel a blockage where I can't stand in my power, it's because I can't find my voice. I can't express my voice. I can't speak my truth.
Yeah.
Either because societal norms have silenced me, or we've been brought up that way. Oh, children, you should be seen, never heard. But whatever it is. But sometimes when I feel the heaviness of the earth or life challenges, and I'm trying to uncover something or find my authenticity, there's this weight right on. And Nicole is touching her chest too and nodding as well. There's something here. As it turns out, Nicole, you could probably explain it better than I can. My birth mother, our mother, had issues with her lungs, which was carried on through the generation of our family. And I invite you, Nicole, to expand on that because you understand a little bit more than I do about the fibroids, the lungs, and all of that.
Yeah, for me, Mary and I didn't grow up together. And so I grew up with asthma. My sister grew up with asthma. My grandpa had asthma. And so the lungs are always have been a crucial part of our lives. And my son has asthma. So he has medication to keep those valves open, to keep we call it the elastic band around the tube, to keep that elastic broken so that it allows us to feel open. And our mom she was a smoker. I'm not a smoker. And yeah, I just to see that struggle too with her lungs and everything else, I can hear it and see it when you explain it. I do the same thing. And whenever something happens, I'm always here. When I come from a very cold, I'm up northern BC, so we get down to -40, -50, and it's everywhere else is always perfectly warm, but I always have that heavy weight on my chest. But when I'm happy, I don't have that. I feel light as a feather and I feel good. But it's weird how when you talk and say things, I totally resonate and just.
Yeah, that's totally. So if you're tuning into your energy and really focusing on your intention, like you can clear that when you do feel that heaviness, name it, give it a color, give it a shape, and then like intentionally dissolve it or dig it out, intentionally dig it out, or whatever works for you, the dissolution of it, the digging it out, maybe it's a burning of it. I don't know, but you can, with your energy and intention, help yourself in that way. Yeah.
It's so incredible that we are designed to heal ourselves. The healing is within us. And we just think that it takes medication or procedures or surgeries, something external to us that to heal. And yet it's all within here. And you have said it a few times, Paula, it begins with that intention setting. And Napoleon Hill says this in his book, Think and Grow Rich, one of my all-time favorite books. I'll put that in the show notes because I think everybody needs to read it no matter what. You want to get abundance. It doesn't have to be financial. It's everything.
Yeah.
Health, whatever you are seeking for. But he does say that a burning desire for something, and others have called it a magnetic desire, but a burning desire, then you set your intention and you take all of your energy into that intention and continue to keep focusing and focusing. It's unbelievable what can happen.
Yes.
Overcoming ailments to receiving a life's abundance, prosperity, health, happiness. And it begins with the energy work.
Yeah, because where attention and focus is, energy goes, right? Yes. And we've all been taught to look outside of ourselves all of our lives. Think about it, from our parents, our teachers, educators, doctors, everybody. We've all been conditioned to look outside of ourselves when we have everything we need right here. There are probably a place for surgeons in some circumstances and doctors in some circumstances, but pretty rare circumstances in my view. I think we are able to heal ourselves.
Absolutely. Dis-ease in the body is the lack of ease of that energy to flow.
And that's also why I believe everybody should learn Reiki. It's so easy to learn and anybody can learn it. It's spiritually guided life force energy. And that we can all heal ourselves. It gives us more autonomy and internal power to heal ourselves.
And when it comes to the menopausal journey, this is another tool in the toolbox so we can take agency over the menopause. Thank you so much, Paula. I am so thrilled to share your story. I'm glad that you walked that journey to arrive at this place where you have become a healer and tapped into something that was innate in you, changing one life at a time. From your Reiki healing to even becoming or knowing that you're clairsentient and to feel into that energy. I am so enamored of what you offer to the world. Tell us now where people can find you.
Thank you so much, Mary. So you can find my podcast on any of the podcasting platforms. Again, it's scared as fuck and doing it anyway. My website is reikiflowmn.com. I'm in the middle of rebranding. When I first opened my business, I was only a Reiki master, a Reiki practitioner. So that's why I named my business Reiki Flow. And so I'm in the process of rebranding to really incorporate all what I do. But for now, it's reikiflowmn.com. And really, you can find everything there.
Well, we'll put that in the show notes for our listeners to find you and to experience what you have to offer. I'm thrilled to share that story. So
Thanks. I forgot to, can I say my Instagram? I'm sorry. I totally forgot about socials. So my Instagram is at Paula_Nicole_71. And you can find me on Facebook as Paula Schuster.
We'll get that in the show notes. So
Thanks.
Closing remarks, doing something a little bit different. If you would be, not to put you on the spot, but maybe you could close our session off today with something meditative so that we can feel into that energy. And then from there, we can end on such a positive, reaffirming note together and sharing all of our energy.
Oh, I'd love to. Let's take a moment to shut down our eyes and take a couple of deep breaths, expanding our bellies on our inhale and feeling our belly button move toward our spine on our exhale. Feeling our sits bones on our seats, on our chairs. Checking in with the space between our eyebrows to make sure that's relaxed. Checking in with our jaw. Sending signals to relax. And release. Maybe tipping our chin down just a bit toward our chest to allow the neck muscles to relax. Taking this moment for ourselves. Expressing gratitude for ourselves, for being here today, for taking this moment for us. And I'd like you to find one or two things that you love and appreciate about yourself. And feel into them and let them wash over you. Feel that love in your heart. And now, if you could find one or two things you love and appreciate about someone or something in your life, and send that love out. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow, that was so good. And just finishing it off with the soothing sounds of Paula's meditation, such a beautiful treat. I know that's how I felt coming out of it. And that's what really sound is all about, that healing energy. It just feels so right to immerse yourself in the bath of sound and tap into that vibrational frequency. And I really love talking about the magic of alternative healing modalities that can really allow us to tap into the body. That intersection between science and spirituality is something that I'll continue to nudge and build more understanding and sharing it with you, my beautiful listeners. But for now, here's my takeaways from this episode. And the first is, well, we live in this digital world. Everything is virtual. But you don't have to be in the physical space, such as a studio or a spa, to enjoy sound therapy. And certainly if there's not one in your community, you can check out many resources online. Go check out Paula online for her offerings. you can enjoy all the benefits of sound because sound can penetrate matter. Honestly, as podcasters in this virtual space, we really pick up on the energy of our guests. And the energy in today's episode was so powerful. I know you probably felt it, having my beautiful sister join us. It's such a powerful energy. And that's my second takeaway from this episode. That is to allow yourself to be completely vulnerable. Nicole showed up completely unexpectedly, unprepared, vulnerable. Minutes before I sat down with Paula and I said, hey, do you want to be on my show? I played Paula's intro to her podcast and she instantly resonated with her. Nicole just felt that loving vibration from her message. Sometimes just in our voice, in the manner in which we speak, we can pick up on that vibration and just feel this connection. And that's the magic of sound. And that's my third takeaway from this show. That is, how do you get started to enjoy some of these beautiful therapies? Well, it starts by slowing down. Set your intentions, but then arrive at your place with an open heart and be ready to receive. As women, we feel that we need to be effective by being busy, and we get caught up in the busyness of being busy, and we forget to slow down and really enjoy what's around us. And as we arrive in May here, we're in this Taurus energy up until the 20th, and Taurus is very grounding, and spring is such a great time to get back out to the outdoors and feel that groundingness with Mother Nature. And I know personally here in my community, I walk to the end of the street and we have the woods, and there's so many beautiful big trees, so many sounds of the eagles, the birds chirping. And we have this tree, it's a big Douglas fir tree. We call him Doug. And I like to give him a big hug on my daily walks. And it just feels like as I press my cheek up against the bark, I'm feeling this big hug from Mother Nature. And she's just soothing me in her loving energy. So take that moment to yourselves. Really, really do this. And if you don't have the time or you're at the office, just hold your hands together and rub them softly and then separate them and feel that energy in between them. You might feel hot or cold. And then allow that vibration that you create in the palms of the hands to scan over your body from head to toe. Tap into that vibration and enjoy the journey. So go check out Paula. Her links to her website and her podcast are in the show notes. All right, my listeners, thanks for tuning in. And until our next episode.